Hey, what's up? It's Matt. We are live. We're back with two more authors from the restaurant space. We are here with Claire and Andrew Bowen of The Daily Grind, and we're going to talk about their great book. Welcome.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good to see you.
You're welcome. So I guess go ahead and real quick tell us about the book. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're from. You're my second guest this week from over the pond, so I don't know how that happened, but give us the intro on who you are.
Well, as you said, it's Andrew and Claire Bowen. We are coffee shop coaches, and we work with coffee shops all over the world to start up, to become more profitable, to expand, and eventually to sell. And as you quite kindly put up, we are authors of The Daily Grind. It's a best-selling book all over the world on how to open a coffee shop successfully. We've been, well, as you've probably gathered, we're married, and we've been married a long time, about 32 years, I believe. And what we decided, we were about 2007. We were both in corporate jobs. I was a midwifery sister, and Andrew worked in retail. And we got to that point that Andrew was working in Europe, and he was away from Monday morning till Friday night, and eventually got home. We got used to him being away, and then he came back, and we got used to him being home, and then he went again. So we decided between us that it was time for a change.
Yeah, lifestyle change. So
we both handed our notices in on the same day and jumped. You could say foolishly, you could say bravely, but we did it. And we decided to start our own business. And we chose coffee because we both like coffee. And over here in the UK, coffee was very much in its infancy. And where Andrew worked, he worked in London, where the coffee scene was starting. And he could see how the potential hadn't quite got to Oxford, where we're from. So he ran lots of interviews and things in coffee shops. So he liked the vibe, he liked the people in the coffee shops, and came back to me and said, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And
so
we did. We jumped and started our own business. We've had a few ups and downs on the way.
Yeah, a few ups and downs. We had a good business. But
yeah, we expanded really, really quickly. And within 18 months, we had 3 sites. Had a little hick, as you probably gathered in the book. But ended up reinventing ourselves and having a successful multi-site independent operation, which we have since sold last year. In the meantime, we were getting lots of questions from people asking us for help, and we were writing lots of blogs, and so we decided to extend our blogs and write the book. So 4 years ago, while running the coffee shops, we wrote the Daily Grind. And the rest is history.
That's an interesting story, and it's kind of wild because that's how I came across it. I'm constantly looking up on YouTube and the internet, trying to find how people are doing things better. And it's funny, there's not a lot of information out there. You might think that the World Wide Web is full of it, but there's not a lot. And it's great that somebody like you would come on and hold on a second, my computer's messing up here. There we go. Would come on and open up and tell your secrets, because some people aren't like that. Some people aren't real open with what they do.
Well, we thought that we did it because we'd learned an awful lot. We'd made mistakes, and we had failures and we had successes. And our main aim is to stop people making mistakes and to make them successful.
Yeah, we saw so many failures come up against us during our time. Silly, stupid businesses. Anybody from inside the industry say, that'll never work. And somebody opened up down the road from us in a business, and they called it Eat Dirt. And now the principle was great because it was a health food cafe. Designed, everything was organic and everything, but the actual name just put people off straight away. So nobody went in there, and after about 18 months, he was a great marketing guy. This guy came from corporate, he had a big job, wanted to do something and thought this great idea, but who's going to go and eat dirt? Where have you had lunch? Oh, I eat dirt. Probably not going to work, is it?
That's definitely one of the most interesting names I've heard. I actually saw a drink the other day in the gas station. the flavor was blood red, and I'm like, I'm going to go with a different flavor. But so I guess I'll dig into it. One of the reasons I like doing these interviews is I like to kind of pull things out that caught my attention, and then let people get to know you. And by the way, if you can go on Amazon, the book's available on Amazon. There's a link in this post. But the first thing I've done is I went through and kind of laid out some things that got my attention. I got them earmarked in here. And this was one that got my attention was, I also have a gym. And in the gym business, it's very low barrier to entry. About anybody you could get $5,000 from your mom and dad, open it up in a 10 by 30 spot. You got a gym, or you could do what we did, invest 6 figures in 11,000 square feet, but you're still the same. What caught my attention on page 3 was it talked about it's a lot cheaper to open a coffee shop, but you need a lot more people. The checks are lower. I guess talk about that and what you've seen from that standpoint.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same old thing. We were talking to an accountant yesterday, and people get attracted by the margin. They just see the margin. So they see that coffee, they're in the coffee shop, they see it full. They've just spent $3 or £3 on a coffee, and they're in their heads, because in the newspaper every week they're telling you that coffee only costs 20 pence to make. So in their head they're thinking, and they don't work in margin percentages, they work in markup. So they're thinking, that's like 1,000% markup on that. So straight away people think it's easy money, forgetting about the overheads, forgetting about that. And as you say, it is really cheap to open, because you can do it for 20 grand probably. In reality, you probably need a little bit more than that if you want it to last. But it is, because people come into the business without checking, and because they won't spend money on a lawyer, because they don't want a lawyer. They got Uncle Bob to do the lawyer and stuff. So they end up signing a lease or an agreement with somebody. Then they end up putting their house on the line, and then when the business fails, they still owe. They've got that covenant, and they get in a hell of a mess. And we see people going bankrupt. So that was the issue really around. That's one of the drivers for this, is because it is really easy to start, but we see so many people fail, and that's one of our passions really, to stop people fail. And actually, people come to us. We had somebody the other day with a great idea, but they wanted to open, and the unit was 460 square foot. And I thought, well, yeah, it's our kitchen's bigger than that, but exactly. And I'm thinking, by the time you put a coffee machine in there, and a counter, and a bit of storage, this was the whole thing, and a toilet. You'll be lucky to get 2 tables in there. Yeah. And what's the rent? Don't worry, it's only £250 a week. But okay.
But what we're saying is that we're doing our job. If we stop somebody opening in a unit like that and stop them losing everything, we'll be pleased if we stop them doing that. But we want people to succeed, and that's our job.
It is interesting to me, and I like that you mentioned that their uncle's the attorney. I found out a lot with marketing. I mean, we have a very specific skill set that we do with my company that people think they can do it themselves. People think they can be an attorney. They can be their own accountant. They can be their own tax person. I'm like, man, like when in the States, we had this whole thing happening during COVID-19 with PPP loans. These different loans are available. And everybody on all these Facebook groups were asking questions. And I'm like, you've got a restaurant doing $1 million a year. Do you not have an accountant? Like, seek professional advice.
Yeah. No, it is. We reckon there's 5 people that you need to open a coffee shop. Obviously, one of them is us. But you need a property lawyer. You need a designer. You need good suppliers. So, and there's one other thing. Lawyer, accountant, us. Anyway,
suppliers.
There we are.
Designers.
Suppliers. Yeah, and the designer. Yeah. And designer, and a designer, getting a good design for a coffee shop can put 25, 30, 40, 50, 100% on the sales. Okay, there's a big upfront cost. They might charge you 5-10 grand to do a nice design, but you'll recoup that in a month or 2. And people don't see that. They want to save as much money as they can and bootstrap it as much as possible, and they end up with a job. They don't end up with a business. They end up with a job, which then wears them out, because they can't take a day off things break down, they got no money in the cash flow.
Exactly. And what we've seen a lot of the times is people have a very small budget and they spend everything before as they're opening the door. It's gone. So the contingency plans, the plans for example, COVID, the things that come and bite you on the bottom that you don't expect, they've got nothing in the reserves for the contingency plans, which is.
And things go wrong. No, I know COVID is a once in a generation thing, but having your shop blocked off by roadworks is a probably once in a 3-year thing. And we've had it in one. We had with two of our shops. Two of our shops were pretty much closed off to the public through roadworks outside, both at the same time for a period of about 3 months. So and it's just sales were through the floor. And you need to be able to have that contingency to cope with those things. It's not just COVID, and COVID is just, wheedle out really the people that haven't got that decent business model in the first place, who are just living hand to mouth.
Yeah, I've said in the States here, COVID probably just it was like the final straw with a lot of restaurants. There's been a lot of places I know a place yesterday that went out of business that was on the verge of going out of business before, but the economy was so good here. So many people were eating out so much. Bad restaurants were doing decent. Good restaurants were doing great, and great restaurants were awesome. But like you said, it's not going to be COVID, it'll be something else. I'm 44 years old. Had to think about that for a second. We started our boat and RV dealership in my marketing career 2 years before September 11th happened in America. And then we were operating both businesses during September 11th. It was 3 months of fear, like people weren't scared to go outside, but they were scared to spend a penny because they didn't know what was happening. Like, is it something else going to be an attack? And then 7 years later, the economy collapsed here in 2008. I lost $1 million that summer. Me and my brother and dad collectively lost a lot of money in our boat and RV business, and it stopped everything for a while. And now you got COVID. You're going to have these things, but like you said, a lot of businesses don't prepare enough. Like when we opened our gym, it was me and 2 other guys, and now there's 3 of us. There's a lady involved now, and we bought the one guy out. But when we opened it, we had enough money in the bank. We sat down and said, okay, I'll commit this much, you commit this much, you commit this much. If we don't make a penny the next 12 months, we have Casey's payroll covered, we have the rent covered, and we have our expenses covered. We knew we were going to make a penny, but we were thinking worst case scenario. If we have nobody coming here, we're just sitting here by ourselves for 12 months, we got money. And I just saw a little ice cream place, an alcohol-infused ice cream place. I think the name Twisted something near my house was open for 3 months. And I'm thinking, how did you open up with not enough cash? And this is before COVID. This is back end of last year, and that just happens. Do you see that a lot, that people open up in that manner?
Yeah, we do. We see it an awful lot, too often, unfortunately. And it's very sad to see businesses fail. I mean, you said that you were in business in the last recession. We were in business in the last recession.
Yeah, 2007. We opened in 2007, the recession of 2009. So that's one of the things that we went through trouble with.
Yes, we had 3 sites within 18 months. So we've lived through the recession. And there is going to be another recession now after COVID. And we've been
worse, we think. Yeah,
we've been talking about the types of business, hospitality business that are going to come out after lockdown now. And there's really 3 types of businesses. There's the ones who just close the doors for good.
They've already failed. They've thrown the towel in already.
They've finished, and some of them have used COVID as an excuse because they were failing anyway. But they've closed the doors, and there's another set of hospitality businesses that are going to just dust everything down, open the door, and like a dusty old time capsule, we say. And then there's the third type who's going to use the time that they were locked down really, really carefully and look at everything in their business and come out revigorated and recharged and raring to go. And they're the ones that are going to hit the ground running and succeed. Because
things have changed during COVID. I think there's a couple of things that we've noticed, a couple of trends. Obviously, you got the situation with offices not going back. I don't know what it's like over there, Matt, but in London, for instance, the government aren't opening it after Christmas. So all the government offices in central London ain't going to be populated. So it's thousands and thousands of people. And lots of other big corporates are doing the same because people are working from home more. So the town centre is going to be a bit of a ghost town. Yeah. And then with ongoing home working so much better, people, businesses that never accepted home working before realize it's going to work. I don't think everyone's going to be working from home, but there's a stat today that was it 85% of the UK population worked from home during COVID. So a vast proportion of them are never going to go back to the office. So the town centre, so the coffee shop that in the community is going to be, it's going to be the place, the oasis. If you're working in the suburbs, in your house, you're going to want a break during the day, or you might want to meet someone in neutral territory, and they're the places you're going to go. So the coffee shop model is still very strong, but it's not the same model that worked really well post-COVID that's going to work after COVID, we don't think. And there's opportunities as well, because with the failures of some of these businesses, there's going to be some really good businesses, ready, equipped, ready to go, turnkey businesses available to take over. So there's going to be some real opportunities for people there. And of course, people are turning their backs against the bad businesses, the corporates who haven't really done really well during lockdown. They haven't come out of it smelling the roses. They've, taken loans where they shouldn't have, and they've sacked people where they shouldn't have, and they haven't done the right thing. Yeah. So I think the independent local community coffee shop is going to be even stronger post-COVID.
And over in the UK, those small independent businesses, the hospitality businesses, became the hub of the community when we were all in lockdown. They were the ones that were also selling bread and milk and all the essentials and delivering them, whereas the big boys, as we call it, just closed the doors and put everyone on furlough. Yeah. So there's, I do hope that Joe Public remembers those independents and supports those independents, because they're going to need it.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because my office where I'm at is in downtown Cincinnati. I live about 25 minutes south of here in northern Kentucky, and it's a ghost town down here. I never stopped coming to the office. I mean, we've got a small company. Most of my employees have always worked from home. We have this office mainly for my dad, who I banned from coming downtown. I said, you're staying home. You're 73. You're chilling at home. I had to fight him, and he stayed home. But myself and two of my sales guys were basically the ones that came to the office during COVID, and we got plenty of space here. It's a big place. But when I go down the street, it's a ghost town. And I've got a friend of mine that owns a restaurant in one of the high rises down here. And his comment was, Matt, they're not coming back to work for any time soon. Like, he tried to open it. I believe he's shut down now. And he's a very successful entrepreneur. The problem is his business is 100% based off of people in his building and the buildings next door. And they just aren't coming back. And it's really shifted a lot of people, I think, across the world of working from home. And I said this probably 2 or 3 months ago. I did a couple of live videos and we had some webinars. I said, hey, if you're a business, you better be prepared. I think especially women, men a little different, but especially women. And I heard from a friend this morning. She was our server at a coffee shop, First Watch, a coffee shop we went to and had breakfast. And I asked her, what's going on? Why'd you come back? And she's like, man, I wish I didn't have to, but money. But she's like, I would have loved to stay home with my kids and find a way to work from home. The people that have that opportunity, that were working corporate jobs that said, hey, you can work from home. Like, one of my friends is now working from home until January 1st. And he works for a company called Exotica. You think come January 1st, he's going to want to go back to that office? I mean, they're going to have major trouble getting people to come back that have been spoiled by what we already experienced working on our own time. But I want to go to one point and then go to the next one, because this kind of ties in with that. I noticed this a lot during the shutdown. I consistently went to a coffee shop down the street, and I was blown away because, yes, you're saying they've got a smaller point. They've got a smaller cell. They got to have a lot more people. Like my restaurant, I went to lunch today. Their average check's $20. The coffee shop I go to, their average check's probably $5. But they've got another opportunity that I think so many coffee shops don't take advantage of. And I want your feedback on this, is that at my house, I have a coffee maker. I have a pour over setup. So I need grounds. I need cups. I need stuff like that. When I go to a burrito restaurant, I'm not leaving with anything. I'm eating food and leaving. So talk about the opportunity of coffee shops to have that upsell, because I don't think a lot of them do a good job of it. It sits on a shelf and they should be selling it. Talk about that.
I think there is an opportunity. We always say to people, though, Matt, sorry to burst your bubble, but we always talk about get the basics right, because your coffee shop won't make, these are nice add-ons. Okay. But unless you get the basics right, there's no point in trying to, cover put a Band-Aid on it. You need to get the basics right. These things can be a nice add-on, And I agree with you. There's an option. We used to sell, our beans, and we sell takeaway, reusable cups and stuff like that. Even we did art exhibitions and sold art off the walls. But what you find is that because the pool of people that go to that local coffee shop is quite small, really, because people don't travel far. How far do you travel for that place? It's not miles, is it? 10 minutes or whatever.
No.
Yeah, and people. So the pool is quite small, so you end up with the same people coming in time and time again. So once they, there is opportunities there, but not quite as much as you expect. I think the big thing is bakery. If you can get some sort of deal with a bakery and do fresh bread, complementary products, I've seen that work very, very well, because you can, but it's something you would need to buy daily rather than buy monthly. So I think that's where the opportunity is. But get the basics right first.
No, I agree there completely. Yeah, rock your coffee out. And I agree that the bakery, I've seen places partner with. You don't have to have it made in house, but there's plenty of places in the region that can partner and make you fresh stuff and give you that $2 coffee sale goes to $6 or goes to $10. Okay, so my next topic is one that one of my clients has always talked about. Actually, the place I had lunch today, he owns 108 restaurants. This is one of his franchise I ate at today. But Ray Wiley from Hothead Burritos has always talked about, I think he calls it like the Fabulous Five. And he's like, if you can be in a strip center, an area that's got a burrito place, a burger place, a coffee place, a donut shop, there's this perception, I think, out there by some people wrong that you need to be on your own away from people. And I'm like, no, when I go to eat, there's many places. And also there's places that feed into it, like shopping, or places that my wife might want to go to that I'm forced to go to that I don't want to go to. So I go grab a cup of Joe.
Yeah.
No, totally agree. That's a big mistake people make. They look at an area and they think, oh, there's no coffee shops there, so I'll be the first. And if it is a success, you can guarantee somebody else is going to open up next door. So being unique on your own is not necessarily the right way to go. People, as you say, they go shopping, they stop for a cup of coffee. It's all complementary businesses, and that is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think complementary is the phrase, really. If you open up, and we've had this happen to us actually, where somebody opened up next door to us or 2 doors away, and pretty much copied. Well, they didn't copy to begin with. They had this great idea. We'll do crepes. Which is great, but there's, it's over here is really an afternoon product. It's a sweet product for the afternoon. People don't want it for the morning. It's a time of day, high margin, but it's a time of day product. So that was their whole menu. It was all crepes, and they soon realised that it was a disaster, really, because they did sell a few crepes, and they take a while to make as well. So there's no quick turnaround. There's So they then thought, they looked at the queue on our door and thought, that looks like a successful business. I'll copy that. So they pretty much copied us, which.
Well, initially it was quite flattering.
It was quite flattering.
They liked what we did, but after a while it got a bit annoying.
Yeah.
That everything that we did that worked, they copied.
But in fairness, it just got us to be a little bit more. We can't stop people copying what's working. No. But what we did, we became even more innovative, and we just kept on adding little bits of innovation, bringing different drinks in. We're very strong at going to shows and trade shows and finding out what's going on and bringing stuff in, because people like to be first, don't they? They like to have that first cup of, whatever it is, turmeric latte. The first. They read about it in a magazine, they see it on Pinterest, they see it on Instagram, but they can't get it locally. But we were doing that in our place, and that's how we got ahead. But yeah, it's about being complementary, and great if you open next to a bakery, or if you open next to an off license or a liquor store, or somewhere that people are in the habit of going to.
But also, we found it very successful doing joint ventures with businesses around us that weren't hospitality, where they had a waiting time, like a hairdresser. If they recommended us, we gave them discounts, we gave them promotions, so that their customers would say to them, "Oh, where's the best place to get a coffee?" Yeah, and they'd say us. So it's not only hairdressers. It's if you have a car repaired or anything that's got a dwell time in, the coffee shop works really well.
Yeah, our objective was to make sure that anybody in our town went to any of the shops around us and said, where's the best place for coffee, they would say Java, because we'd given them free coffee, we'd given them free cakes, we'd given them free muffins, we'd given them cookies, and we built up this relationship with them over the time we were there. And nobody else could get a look in ultimately. One of the things that we did as well was we got a link with a local running club. Have you got park run over there? Yeah. Well, when the park run started, God knows how long ago, they came to us and said, just caught me off chance. We're thinking of us doing this running thing on a Saturday. We're looking for someone to have a cup of coffee afterwards. Will you give us a discount? And my default on that is always yes. So I said, yeah, of course. So the first couple of weeks we had 10, 15 people. Within 18 months, there was 400 people on a Saturday morning coming to our place. Yeah. And we used to take more in those 2 hours on a Saturday morning than we did on a Monday and a Tuesday combined. So, but the great thing is that when somebody saw that queue on a Saturday, because then we encouraged them, gave them stuff, and we built the community with them, looked after them, supported them in their raffles, all that sort of stuff, and built a bond with them all. I made a point of talking to them and chatting to them, getting to know them all, and it's a real lovely community. They're nice people that do the run anyway. They're perfect avatar for that's the thing we say about looking at your avatar. They are a perfect coffee shop avatar, for our business anyway. And then the great thing was when people see the queue, our competitors went to them and said, "Oh, we'll offer you a discount as well. Come to us. We'll offer you a discount on Saturday morning." And they were really upset. They were really annoyed. These people were trying to poach them from us.
And they were really loyal to us.
Yeah,
they told us about it, but they said, no, we're loyal.
No, you've been good to us. You looked after us. You've given us cakes. You've done this. You've done that. So, word of mouth marketing. Yeah.
Yep.
But I was reading a book, rereading a book this week from Google, the ZMOT, Zero Moment of Truth.
See that one?
No, it's not as a book. You can get it as a download. Actually, it's really worth it. It's a good read. But what they talk about there is one of the things that struck out off the page for me is that word of mouth now isn't just word of mouth. Word of mouth is now digital and archived forever. So that old saying about I'll tell your friend in the park or on the bus what a wonderful cup of coffee or service you've had somewhere. You now put that on Twitter. You might put it on Pinterest, you put it on Facebook, you put it on Instagram. You might have a following of 10,000 people. Suddenly 10,000 people are having recommended from you. So, and conversely, if you do it badly, then you're going to have 20,000 people reading how badly you've done.
It used to be in the day that they used to say if you had a bad experience, you tell 10 people, whereas reality now it's tens of thousands of people because of social media. They just have to put it down once and it gets shared and it spreads so quickly. But
the strangest thing, we did some work for a client working with recycling last year, and we did some research in London. And out of all, 58% of all coffee shops in London haven't got a website. So if they haven't got a website, how are they in charge of their own digital reputation? They're not, are they? The whole thing. When people search for them, Facebook page comes up, their TripAdvisor page, their Yelp page, their random review page comes up, but there's nothing to bring it all together. So people don't understand how important this thing is, which is why I've read your book, and I don't want to blow smoke, but in truth, it is full of great stuff, and some of the stuff I know we did. But it adds a different element to it. It's up a level. Yeah. It's like it's what we did on steroids, actually. So and all that stuff on chatbots and things like that. I didn't even know they existed. So I'm having a look at that.
We're pinching.
Borrow that if you don't mind.
Hey, you can borrow all you want. And I agree with that. And my dad's watching, and he said on here that he was on word of mouth marketing, and we did the same thing when we had our boat dealership. We realized there were all these fishing clubs. And my dad's, I call him a wannabe fisherman. I'm not a fisherman at all. And we saw there were hundreds of fishing clubs. And I happened to go to a fishing event. And I looked around, there's 200 people there, 100 fishing boats. All of them buy accessories, parts, all the stuff you need to go fishing. And we also sold all of it. And there's not a single company sponsoring it. So I said, hey, what if we give you guys some gift cards to our fishing store? And they were like, oh, heck yeah. Well, within a year, we were sponsoring 180 fishing tournaments. I told them also, hey, any of y'all want to have your fishing club meeting at our dealership? We've got seating and tables for like 50 people. We've got a coffee machine. We'll do whatever you want. And within a year, the same thing. All of our competitors were calling them up like, oh, well, hey, we can do that in our store. And they're like, no, you weren't here before. And I think there's a lot of joint ventures that people just are sleeping on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the joint venture is one of the strongest. Gyms are things we used to target in truth, because gyms have got, again, they matched our avatar.
Yep.
They're the same people that go to gyms, come to our coffee shop, the same sort of values. And we target them. We'd say we'd ring the gym owner up, get him in, give him a free cup of coffee, schmooze him for a bit, and then offer all his clients, all his members, a free coffee.
Yep.
So then but we would manage that through sending them to a branded sign-up page. So on our website, we'd be branded with his gym logo, with a message from him and a picture of him. Mm-hmm. And they would go to that page, they put their details in, they appear on our CRM, and they get an email from us for a free coffee. And they would come down, and then we know they come from that gym because it's on their phone or whatever. You're from so and so. Oh, great, good to see you. How's Bill or whatever his name is who's in charge of the gym? And straight away you're making contact. So yeah, I think that joint venture thing.
And then their customers, they became our customers.
Yeah.
So it worked, but both ways. Oh,
yeah, no, I think that's. But in the days of sort of worrying about Facebook pixels and all that sort of stuff, I know you can do an awful lot with that. And there's, it's missed by lots of people. There are still lots of old-fashioned sort of community-spirited things that really work well for a coffee shop in particular, or any small independent bakery, butchery, florist, anything with that sort of ability to be unique and different, and to be a badge of honor for the people that buy stuff from you. As people like to say, I'm off to this. I bought from here because it's local. It's they're good. We know what their values are. We know Andrew and Claire. It's all part of the thing, where they can't do that with Costa or with Starbucks. Yeah. They go there, and of course the business model is different as well. So we talk about for marketing as well. It's investing time in your clients and your customers. So whereas the Costas and the Starbucks of the world, it's all about microseconds and about average transaction time at the till, and they get an email from the central office to say your average transaction time was 14% lower than so and so. You speed it up, blah blah blah. Whereas we can, which actually works against the service element in those big places. Whereas as an independent, that time, you invest that time in your customer.
I mean, we always say service is the giving of the service to the customer, but it's the hospitality, that hospitality gene that is the important bit. And if you've got that hospitality gene, you can make somebody feel better when they leave you than when they walk through the door. And that's our job, is to make people feel better.
No, I love exactly what you said there on the gym. And it's kind of ironic you mentioned it. Tonight I'm going to the gym, and I'm going afterwards to a place called Better Blend. I order my smoothie from the gym. I stop by and get on the way home. And Isaac and I were talking. He was on my MPTV podcast, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we were talking offline about it. I said, man, if I was you, I would go to every gym within a 10-mile radius of here, and I would give every single trainer a free smoothie card once a week. Hey, here's this. You get a card, you get to come here and get free smoothies. I said, because what they're going to do is they're going to be posting pictures on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, trainer to 30 people, 40 people. Those trainers, those kids, those students like me are going to go, what's Better Blend? Like, that's how I heard about it. Casey and Lindsay at my gym walked in one day with these smoothies. I'm like, where'd you get that? And they're all Better Blend out by your house. I live out there. I didn't even know it existed. So next thing I know, I'm in there all the time. I think that's a huge opportunity. So next one I want to talk about, and it's kind of funny because this one got the attention of one of my good friends, Andrea Spigian, who has an amazing coffee shop in Cincinnati. She actually sold it during COVID. She had it for like 3 years and sold it for more than she paid for it a couple years ago. She's rehabbing a new one. She's a rock star operator. And I thought it was pretty cool, the idea, because I think too many people sleep on product. I think there's so many opportunities to make an impression, like you said, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat. And I think that cup is a great place. I was at a place a block from my office called Sugar and Spice the other day. It's an old 50s retro themed diner, and their coffee mugs in-house were branded, and they looked awesome. And a lot of places have those, the in-house ones. I think there's a huge opportunity for the ones that leave the place. And you can have the sleeves, but I think there's a lot of cool opportunity there. So talk about some things that you've seen, like branded coffee cups, like you talked about on page 77, and other things you've seen from a unique perspective to make that experience better.
Well, I think you got to start with the sort of mission statement, really, of the business. So if you want to look really indie, really independent, really sort of off the wall, almost mom and pop, then you probably, and you are almost anti-establishment. You by nature you get what you wouldn't want anything branded. You want it to look and feel a little bit, less corporate. But saying that, I think people are. People like a brand, they like the comfort of a brand. And I think they underestimate the importance of those little things in terms of building the overall brand of the business, in terms of what people wear, in terms of the apron, in terms of the cap, in terms of, the jewelry standards, or the nail varnish standards. And those are all part of the brand, I think, that people miss. And the branded cups are, I agree with you. I think they are a no-brainer, really, because the biggest barrier to entry for that is in paper cups rather than China cups. China cups you can get pretty much manufactured at a very competitive rate, and they last. In terms of the return on investment, the difference in having one with your name on it versus one that you buy direct from the wholesaler is pennies, really. Yeah. So perfect. So yeah, but the paper cups, there can be, if you want those branded, they can become very expensive, particularly for a small operator. But the way around that is to get a stamp, and stamp it and make it a quirky stamp.
Okay.
Or put stickers on.
Or a sticker. Yeah, a plain cup and a sticker. And for all intents and purposes, it looks branded. And those are the ways around it. But I think that whole branding thing, because people, not the comfort of a brand. It's why you have Coca-Cola while you're away in a foreign country. You look at the menu. Oh, what can I drink? I don't know anything on the menu, but there's a Coke. I'll have a Coke. I know what it tastes like. It's safe. And it's the same thing when people walk down the high street and they'll walk into a Starbucks and they're in a strange town because it's safe. Yeah. And if you can have the same markers in your business, so a nice, clean sign. We talk about the signage a lot in terms of,
we always say that the signage should say, a sign above the door should say what it does on the tin. You should be able to read a sign, know exactly what is inside that shop. You'd be able to read it really carefully, and no clever fonts or anything else. We always say you should be able to read it. Well, you can see McDonald's big M's from outer space. I don't expect to see everyone's coffee shop from outer space, but I do expect to be able to read it and understand it and know what I'm going to get from across the road. And the number of hospitality businesses that make that mistake, like Eat Dirt.
Yeah, Eat Dirt. And we had another one, another local to us. We saw it pull up, and this place has never done very well. But on its first iteration, it had a wooden sign, right, like a pine sign. It had fret pine letters on it. Right, so they were proud, but the only thing you could see was a slight shadow if the sun was out. But basically, it was like you didn't know what it was. No. And the font was pretty horrible anyway. So even if you looked at it, you had to squint at it. Why people have got to do this? Even if they have the strangest name in the world, at least have a little tab saying coffee shop or coffee, so that people know there's a Pavlovian response in people's heads, and. People don't walk very far for a coffee. If you're hungry or you're thirsty and you don't know an area, you'll look for pointers. And if you're not giving those pointers as the business owner in terms of that branding, in terms, stickers on windows, that's another one of our bloody, excuse the French, pet hates. Do we really want to know that you're in this chamber of commerce? You've got stickers on saying you accept credit cards. Wow, that's great news. You accept credit cards. These are things from a bygone age. And there's a sticker. You see, there's 15 years worth of TripAdvisor stickers all falling off. It just makes the place look tatty. Yeah. So just those little things for an independent are really important. So there's that feeling of brand comfort, because getting people over the threshold for any independent is the hardest thing in the world. Once you've got them over there, then you've got a chance. But but that's what the brand does. That's what Costa and Starbucks and the Dunkin' Donuts of the world do, because people know what they're going to get when they get there.
And it's that first impression. And if they look at the outside and there's all rubbish on the floor or this, as you say, dirty windows, they're not even going to walk through the door. So you've lost them.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk to people as well. But in terms of marketing, it's all very well and good having the best, fanciest marketing, slickest, most up to date, Facebook pixels, cost per click, all that sort of stuff. Vouchers out, leaflets here. But if you promote a bad business, you're going to close it quicker. That's all you're going to do. You've got to get those basics right.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I think a lot of times you don't want to promote something that's not there. And I can relate to that, because my business, we had a couple products. We were a small marketing firm just located in Cincinnati for a long time. And then 2016 had the opportunity to do something unique with our restaurant marketing platform and take it bigger. And we took it bigger locally, 19 restaurants locally from a handful. And we found a lot of little issues that we had to fix. And I had this game plan for 2017 to be just ginormous. And I remember looking back afterwards and going, man, thank goodness we didn't, because we could have gotten big real quick and then lost a lot of clients real quick. I think that happens. Two things you said there that caught my attention. There was, I'll never forget this, because the agency is a friend of mine. She took on an account in my area where I live, and it was down the street from my house. And it was a little consignment, like high-end women's clothing shop. And their sign on the building was this really cool font. I still to this day drive by. I do not know the name of the business. I look, and it's like a contest for me. I look and I'm like, what does it actually say? And it just looks like somebody took a scribble and went everywhere. And I think that you're dead on that it's not hard. Coffee, COFFEE. But I also saw an example this year. Ironically, the business just closed yesterday, but there's a business in my area that opened up called Sugar Fire Barbecue, and it's just closed yesterday. In my area, it's open almost about a year. I think it was just a bad location, COVID. There was a lot of things that happened there. But when he opened up a year ago, it was a franchise from St. Louis, Missouri, and they have a huge footprint in St. Louis, like 7 or 8 stores. They're a mecca there. Everybody knows Sugar Fire. Well, he comes here, and they put up signs on the building that just say Sugar Fire. Well, he got lucky. Well, I guess he got lucky. He's still out of business a year, but he got lucky early on that the signs that got hung up were default. They were $30,000 messed up signs, and the sign company had to come back. And after 2 months, he's like, hey, we want new signs at your expense, but we want to add BBQ to it. Because people would walk in the store and they go, oh, what do you guys sell, like cotton candy and candy? Because it was Sugar Fire. Nobody knew it was, barbecue.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we make it too hard for people to understand what we do. And that's it shouldn't be a contest. It shouldn't be there are businesses that we know, these secret bars in the back of wardrobes, on in the corner of a laundrette or something. But those are busy because they are found and they've got a different way of marketing, and they tend to drag in tourists. But for a coffee shop, you want people to, whoa, coffee shop. And don't underestimate in our experience, even we operate our business, the last one for, 11 years in one site. It was right in the center of town. It was prime position, and you couldn't miss it, right? But we go out for dinner with people. They even know we run a coffee shop, yeah? They even know, what you know, we run Andrew and Claire come in, they run a coffee shop in Abingdon. Yeah, cool. So when you start talking to them, you say, and these people live in town, you say, well, oh yeah, we run a coffee shop. Well, where's that? I say, well, it's right in Market Square, right in the place, right in the middle of town. You can't miss it. 5 minutes later, oh, is that the one next to the jewelers? Oh, yeah, because our sign was good. It said coffee, but people they become blind. People walk around with their eyes closed. So you've got, even in that situation, even if you've been open for years, don't underestimate the sort of I'm going to say stupidity, but that's the wrong word, but the obliviousness of people in their routine. You've got to snap them out of their routine. And even after 10 years, even if you're a local institution, well, we were, there's still going to be people. So that for me meant that there was still loads of business that we hadn't tapped into,
And it did flabbergast us, but we actually sat back and thought about it. I mean, we were right in the centre in a big courtyard in the centre of the town. And we had 60 seats outside with people sitting there drinking coffee. We had the signage, coffee, and yet they didn't see us.
Yeah,
they looked past us. So it's don't underestimate. That's what we say.
Yeah, I learned that myself the hard way. I'll give you a funny story about me because I think I always tell people as consumers, we're all stupid. And I put myself there. I'm like, we're all dumb. We all have these things we don't acknowledge. I was at my house the other day. We've lived there 4.5 years. And we have the his and her bathroom. My wife's got her spot. I have my spot. And I'm sitting there doing something. I look, and to my left on the wall, there's a medicine cabinet. I look, and I open it up, and it's empty. I look like, Christy, did you just install this? She's like, oh, my gosh. She goes, Matt, it's been there since we moved in. And I'm like, I didn't know I had this there. I just never looked there. But we had our boat dealership. And I've told this story before on some of these interviews, and it just cracks me up because we had a 7-acre store on the #1 traveled road in northern Kentucky. We had 300 to 400 boats visible from the street. So if you looked, you saw a lot full of boats. It was obvious what it was. And we had this one particular boat, a G3 HP 200. It was a 20-foot aluminum fishing boat. And I remember it because it sat on our lot for 2 years. We could not sell it. It was not a desirable boat. Nobody would buy it. Out of nowhere, this guy comes by the store with his boat. He bought an HP 200. I went, oh my gosh, I've never seen another one. We've got one we can't get rid of. It's an awesome boat, but there's nobody. It was kind of ahead of its time. I said, where'd you get it? He goes, oh, I drove down to E-Town 2.5 hours away. I go, where do you live? Across the street. I go, you live across the street? He goes, yeah. I'm like, why didn't you come here? He's like, I didn't know you guys were a boat dealership. I've been driving by here for 5 years. I saw the boats. I didn't know really what it was. And then when I looked on G3's website, you guys came up and I came and bought it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, please take my boat. So to end, I guess, tell us how people can work with you. I've got Cafe Success Hub on here. Tell us what you can help with, what they can find on the website. And then I appreciate your time.
That's our main website.
So what we do, we work with, as I said, coffee shops all over the world. And we do it a number of ways. We can work on a one-to-one basis and do one-to-one coaching, but we also do a course, an online course called startupacoffeeshop.com. You want to explain?
Yeah, which we launched. Luckily, we launched it. We were running a course in London. We'd run about for the last 4 years called the Coffee Shop Bootcamp, and we last year, luckily, we decided to put it online, because a lot of people wanted to come to it. So it's basically, it's called startupacoffeeshop.com. There it is in the middle there. If you click on that, you'll get to it. And it's basically everything. It's the next stage up. It's full of everything, all the videos you need. It takes you through every bit of training, how to do the menu, how to choose your site in real detail. And that's what we are working on at the moment. We got about 37 people enrolled in that. And we're taking them on a journey to open. So that's an easy way to get access to us. It's quite cost effective.
And you can join with that. That comes with a membership to a Facebook, a private Facebook group where we answer every question in that group that people want to ask us, because you can guarantee if one person wants the answer to that question, somebody else does too. And it's a lovely little community that works really, really well.
And there's your book.
There's our book, yeah, and it's doing really well, Matt. We were amazed. We were taken aback by how well that sold, and the reviews we had on it. It's humbling, very humbling. And and we pinch ourselves every day really for something we put together just because we wanted to stop people making the mistakes that we've seen other people make and us made ourselves. And we wrote it in such a way that it was like a startup guide really, and a quite simple process.
In fact, we wrote it as if we were starting again from scratch. What would we have wanted to have known? We need a second brain on your shoulder,
yeah.
Andrew and Claire, your second brain, and guide you through every aspect of opening a coffee shop so that you're a success. That is something that we didn't have.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. This was awesome.
No, it's lovely to speak to you.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we'll sign off on this one. If you guys want to find out more about them, cafesuccesshub.com. I highly recommend you go to Amazon and find the book. It's a great read. I haven't made it through everything yet. I have a weird way I read books. I look at certain topics that I've got other places, and I've kind of pieced things together, but I'm most of the way through it. Check it out, and thanks for your time, and best of luck.
Grand.
Thanks, Matt. All the best.
Bye-bye.